Critical race theory would say you did so because you think blacks are second-class citizens. That's
What?
racist. Have you heard about critical race theory? I'm guessing you probably have. It has already insinuated itself into many institutions and is making rapid progress into others. If it takes hold, it will completely change the very nature of America and the way you live.
That sounds kind of dramatic, bro. That sounds kind of dramatic. I've done like a few videos on critical race theory. I've done like videos on why other people don't like critical race theory. But from what I understand, critical race theory is when schools teach about race. That's literally my textbook basic definition of it. I don't really know much about it. So I want to know why it would change America and I guess for the worse. I genuinely want to know why.
Critical race theory holds that the most important thing about you is your race. The color of your skin, that's who you are.
Wow.
Not your behavior, not your values, not your environment. Your race. In critical race theory, if you are a member of a minoritized racial group, their term, not mine, you are a victim of a system that is rigged against you, a system that doesn't want you to succeed. On the other hand, if your race is privileged, you're an exploiter, whether you intend to be or not. Critical race theory begins from the assumption that racism occurs in all interactions.
That was kind of deep. He said critical race theory begins, it states that racial whatever. Critical race theory begins from the assumption that racism occurs in all interactions. If you put it like that, I would definitely be upset about critical race theory. Because you're not finna sit here and teach me that I'm a victim. And if I was white, I would be upset too. Because I'm like, bro, I didn't even do nothing. Why are you mad at me? But yeah, I would just be, I'm kind of mad either way. It can't just be that simple though. It's no way.
Critical race theory begins from the assumption that racism occurs in all interactions. To see how this works, consider this thought experiment. Imagine you own a shop and two customers enter at the same time, one white and one black. Who do you help first? If you help the black person first, critical race theory would say you did so because you don't trust black people to be left alone in your store. That's racist. If you help the white person first instead, critical race theory would say you did so because you think blacks are second-class citizens. That's racist too.
It's a lose-lose situation. Oh my god! It sounds like every day is a freaking test. Like every day is like, who can be the best? Who can be the least racist? Like, bro, oh my god! If I actually have to live life like this, bro, I'm gonna be pissed off. Cause I'm gonna just help whoever comes in first. I'm gonna just help whoever I guess looks like they need help. I'm not gonna pick for a race, and I would be upset if someone else did it. But if you put it like that, it's like it's a lose-lose situation. Like imagine you're white, and I guess a white person comes to the store and a black person comes to the store, and you go and help the white person. They're like, oh, why didn't you help me? Why didn't you help me first? Somebody black says that. Or if you go help the black person first, they're like, did you help me just because you don't want me in the store by myself? Like, bro, oh my God. This is a lose-lose situation.
That's critical race theory. It can find racism in anything, even if it has to read your mind to do it.
Oh my goodness.
Critical race theory is a uniquely American invention. Brewed up at Harvard Law School in the 70s, now part of the academic and media mainstream, it is also uniquely un-American because it rejects the core tenets of the American, classically liberal Judeo-Christian value system. It turns the bedrock American idea upside down. Here it is in the words of Richard Delgado and Gene Stefanchik, two leading proponents. Critical race theory questions the very foundations of the liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasoning, Enlightenment rationalism, and the neutral principles of constitutional law.
Bruh, oh my God.
It does this because critical race theory proponents assume racism is present everywhere and always.
Bro, this is freaking taxing, bro. Who has time for all this? This is frustrating. Like, who has time to sit around thinking about this all day? This is giving me a headache, and I'm just... First, I didn't even know critical race theory was that. I just thought critical race theory was when you teach children about the history of their race. Like, I just thought that was critical race theory. But then again, when I sit and think about it, That's not necessarily critical race theory. That's just history class. But anyways, bro, this just seems complicated. It seems like it gives you a big headache every time you think about it.
And they look for it critically until they find it. And they always find it. It has to be there because that's how the imperial European powers and then America set things up. Here, as in all dangerous academic theories, there is a kernel of truth. Human beings were not preoccupied with race until the 16th century, when Europeans began to explore and then colonize other parts of the world. Drawing distinctions between the races reached its peak in the 19th century with the widespread use of slave labor in North and South America. No one denies this. But since then, the Western world, and most especially America, has spent a lot of time, money, and blood breaking free of its racist past. It's been a rocky road for sure, but great progress has been made. Critical race theory says all this progress is a mirage. Racism never died, never even faded a little bit.
Okay, man. So the problem with a theory that states that racism never dies and it never faded, the problem with this theory is that it denounces any type of progress ever. And what I mean by that is, imagine you have a slope that goes up like a roller coaster, goes up and then goes down. And this is the progress of humans. If we go up and you just assume with a theory that no matter what, racism will never go down, your thoughts is that no matter what, it always goes up. So whatever happens in our time or our frame of life is kind of irrelevant because you're going to find racism in anything. And I'm just going off of what he's saying. The reason that something like this would be a huge problem is because in its definition, it implies that no matter what society does, racism will always exist and it will always be as strong as it was. That is the huge problem because it's going to get to the point where you can't make any more progress if you believe in something like this. And then you're going to go backwards because that's what happens. You can't progress forever. You have to reach a peak. But if you go past the peak, like, no, we can do better than that, you go back down. So this seems like a huge problem if it's really like this.
It just hid itself better. Critical race theory, therefore, is not a continuation of the civil rights movement. It is, in fact, a repudiation of it. To critical race theorists, Martin Luther King was both wrong and naive. White Americans can never judge blacks by the content of their character. They can only judge them, always unfavorably, consciously or unconsciously, by the color of their skin. Ironically, not since the Aryan obsession in Germany in the 1930s and 1940s, or South African apartheid in the second half of the 20th century, has the social movement been so obsessed with race. Critical race theory is then, in a very real sense, a counter-American revolution. But that's a positive, not a negative to those who subscribe to the theory. What? The American experiment was given a 400-year tryout, and it doesn't work. So let's scrap it. That's what they believe. Is that what you believe?
No.
I'm going to guess that most of you don't. So how do we stop critical race theory before it...
If all I'm going to say is because I don't really know much about critical race theory. Because when I was in school, we weren't taught critical race theory. Like, this is when I was in like elementary, middle school, this is a much newer thing. So we were just taught like math, science, like just regular stuff. So when I hear about this, I'm a little shocked that this is a thing, I guess. And that if it actually does this, then that's a real problem. But anyways, yeah, I don't really agree with that if this is the case.
Brains of too many decent Americans, especially young people, and turns us into something we have never been and shouldn't ever want to be. The answer is simple. Refuse to accept it. Don't be intimidated by the heads I win, tails you lose logic of this self-destructive, America-hating, anti-reality idea. Don't be bullied into thinking that you're racist when you know you're not, or that you're a victim when you know you're not. Defend yourself, while you still can. I'm James Lindsay, founder of New Discourses for Prager University.
Wow, that was a pretty good video. I'm just going to say this because I don't know much about critical race theory. But if it's a theory that makes me state that I'm a victim, I'm probably never going to accept it because It's kind of arrogant, but I just refuse to say that I'm a victim. I'm never saying that. It's not going to happen. Like, of course you could be a victim of specific things, but I'm not finna sit here and tell y'all I'm a victim of something that I can't control. It's not going to come in my mouth, bro. It really isn't. But anyways, if you have any more suggestions for me, comment down below. And hit the subscribe button. And I'll see y'all later.